It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Hello,
Hey
everyone.
How are you doing, Steph?
Good. How are you, Gary? It's been a minute. We have not seen each other or talked in like a week. So how you doing?
It's interesting. We probably haven't seen each other in person well over a month, and I've been traveling a ton. As you know, it's kind of weird this time of year to travel right before InfoComm.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've been having to do a lot of, and it's today it's like cloudy and overcast in Northern California. I'm speaking at an event tomorrow, but I'll be back in the office on Friday. And by the way, we should tell them what they're watching for those people that are,
for those of you who are watching
up on their screens.
This is rAVe TV. This is a weekly TV show that Gary and I started, I guess, a couple years ago now, all about rAVe. It's rAVe's only weekly live TV show. So it's about 30 minutes once a week, Wednesdays at noon Eastern, every single week. We've managed to do this.
Do it on ravepubs.com,
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube, of course, at youtube.com/ravepubs. And we've kind of filled in for each other when we couldn't make it. I think you had to fill in more for me than I filled in for you, but ultimately it'll all come out in the wash in the end.
Yeah, but, for us making sure that at least one of us is here every Wednesday at noon, like that's we've done a good job.
Yeah, we've pulled it off, and it's funny because I know that we've been doing this 2 years, and it's been 2 years, believe it or not. We've been doing this 2 years, and we should go back and look at some of our old stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, reviewing old stuff is always fun.
It's so fun. And I was reviewing some old videos on our YouTube the other day, and Gary, like, your Rants and Raves episodes are so good and fun, but they've changed so much over the years. So check out this little clip from a Rants and Raves episode from about 11 or 12 years ago. We're going to roll that now.
This is Gary K, and I got a rant. Have you noticed how irrelevant old people are? When I was a kid, I was taught to respect old people because they had gained knowledge from experience. Like how to drive real slow, even when you're not supposed to. And when I was a kid, we went over to my grandparents' house. I ate whatever was served. I never complained that half the room smelled like mothballs, nor did I complain that their TV only had 2 channels, and barely winced when I was relegated to the kids' table, even when I visited from college. And I have to admit, though, when my grandfather spoke, he did have some amazing stories. You know, the moon landing, the Depression, the war. I remember my parents and grandparents. I'd ask my parents and grandparents about everything. School, work, how to buy a house, how to open a checking account, how to make money, how to buy tickets even when they... and how to even appreciate the evening news. I was actually surrounded by old people that had the answers to everything and anything I ever asked. Not anymore.
Where's the purple?
Yeah.
What happened to our purple?
Because it used to be orange, right?
Yeah, it was. There was some purple in there, but yeah, that was a great intro. I love that intro.
I was like, wow, okay, rock out, Gary. I have so many questions.
I'm not going to complain about old people anymore because I'm an old people myself.
So I love your outfit in that video. First of all, I love the scarves.
It was freezing cold outside. It was cold outside. I remember that day. It was really, really cold, and I just didn't have anything to wear, so I wore like 4 shirts and the scarves to try to stay warm. And we shot that over and over and over again. So you're looking at clips put together rather than today you just make mistakes and keep going. Like back then you like chop out the mistakes and make it look better. So,
it was amazing, but you were being facetious. You were not being serious. So
what I was talking about is how my parents thought I was because I was in the AV tech. It was because I was in the tech market. They thought I was a computer repair person, so they would call me for anything that was wrong with their computer, and they didn't really understand what I did. And even I would tell them every time I'd see them what I did, they still didn't understand what I did, and I was sort of like kind of making fun of the fact that, but it's funny because now I'm like one of those people because all these new technologies are coming and moving so quickly that it's hard to, now I realize what it's like, right? You try to keep up with all this while also doing your regular job. So I have a little bit more empathy. But yeah, I was being facetious.
Yeah. That's so true. My dad does the same thing to me. My grandparents do the same thing to me. They're like, "You work in technology." Like before, like my grandpa passed away a couple years ago, but I remember like up until then, like he would accidentally change his Facebook to Japanese a lot, and he'd be like, "Steph, can you come in here and fix it?" And I was like, I don't know how to read that, so I'm not going to know how to fix it. But somehow,
back.
Yeah, yes, I would figure it out. But it was like the kind of thing where I was like, this has happened one too many times. Like, how has this happened? So yeah. I mean, I'm treated like that in my family as well as like IT support. But what can you do?
But our industry overall is aging. This is kind of a problem in our industry. Honestly, I had a video cast yesterday, and I hope that everyone we'll take a look at it. We're doing a series of video casts with the VIXA leading up to InfoComm, talking about all the things going to go on at InfoComm. But one of the things they're going to have is a career empowerment session for people that are sort of like looking for which direction to go in their careers, because what the data shows that we're aging as an industry, meaning the people inside the industry, even though we're part of new tech and the tech is changing, the age is actually getting older. Where a lot of us were, the average age probably in the industry 20 years ago was in the 30s. Now the average age is probably in the 40s, because even though people like you, Steph, have come in the industry, not as many people like you, Steph, have come in the industry.
That's an interesting point, but I will say that organizations like Avixa and other similar ones have been doing really great work at going to college fairs and going to high schools and showing that, because I would say that the problem is that people at a young age don't know that our industry exists. Like anytime that I've said I work in the AV industry to someone my age or younger, they've said, "What's that?" So
yeah, and the number of positions that require a college degree in our industry is very few.
Very few, yeah.
In the marketing roles, you need a college degree, or
and like
at least
the
some
education roles, you need a degree.
Education roles, maybe, but in the technician roles, the sales roles, the engineering roles, the project management roles, you do not need a college degree. You need that experience for that segment of the market. So you could go get a project management certification, which there's many different levels of that, and you could do lots of different things in our industry. You're ultimately going to go to a big AV company or a small AV company. They're going to teach you their process. There is no standard process, regardless of what anyone tells you, to do something. And I think we've not done a good job letting people know, like high school kids know, that this industry exists and you don't have to go to college. And I was raised by my parents saying, you're going to go to college, we're going to pay for college, and so it was just a normal thing. I was never exposed to an opportunity outside of college. But now there's a lot of roles in our industry. Again, I'd argue the great majority. It's something we could talk to Nathan about. He's going to be on in a minute. And see what he thinks. But I think a lot of them don't require a college degree.
Yeah. And I mean, the rule at my house is always like, you have to do something. Like I was allowed to, like, you got to go to college, or at least community college, or a technical something, like, go get a certificate. Like I was always told that I had to do something past high school, but I just chose college. But yeah, for a lot of it, it really isn't necessary, for a lot of integrators and stuff. So very interesting. I think that we're going to have to, work on our approach a little bit at, getting more young people to enter the industry and understand that it's something they can do. It's something that exists. But yeah. So before we continue on, we have a few really great partners and sponsors, and one of them is the reason that Gary and I sound so good all the time, and that is Shure. So we are going to play a quick spot from them, and then we're going to come back on, and Nathan Haynes is going to join me. Hello, we are back, everybody, and I'm joined by Nathan Haynes. How's it going, Nathan?
I'm good. How you doing, Steph?
Doing well. Yeah, I mentioned that this year has been like kind of crazy. I think that we're just kind of, really catching some momentum getting out of the pandemic and stuff. And trade shows are pretty fully coming back. I think this is like the busiest year we've had at rAVe in a while. We're doing our normal amount of trade shows. So it's been pretty crazy, and things have been kind of crazy your way as well, right?
Yeah, you can definitely feel the change in the tone in the industry. Things have kind of progressed from estimate, maybe a re-estimate, kind of dawdling, to estimates are going in, POs are going out. So it's great. Yeah. It's really good to see.
It's very hectic in our industry right now. Well, I wanted to talk about the piece that you wrote. You wrote it a while ago. It took me a while to publish it. So as we know, I'm sorry about that. But it's about interfaces and AV, and about how typically that kind of falls on the integrator when maybe it shouldn't. Maybe that should be a design person, but that's not really something that exists in a lot of integration firms right now. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. It's just something that I had the pleasure of working for a company back in 2010. And they took UI and UX extremely serious. Actually, their designer they had for that ended up working for Mozilla and Google later. So extremely skilled and knowledgeable in that arena. And at that time, I learned a lot about the different rules and principles of UI and UX design, and realized then how little it was applied to AV. And predominantly, most of the systems you're going to see in a corporate environment or a commercial environment, in your house even, you're going to be walking up to some sort of touchscreen to use our systems.
Right.
I kind of talked a little bit about it in the article, that some stuff's more reactive. You can have occupancy sensors, and in the future, who knows, we're going to have some AR and VR touch panels and UIs going on. But for now, it's predominantly walking up to a touchscreen and pushing buttons. And so often that hasn't been designed or thought about in a critical visual design sense, or in a functional sense of the user and their usability needs. So it's kind of been one of those items that just kind of falls onto a programmer in the last minute, and they're going to use something they've had in the past that maybe they've had some success with, and then program around that. And that can just cause a stumbling point to get to the finished system. And it can introduce a lot of questions and a lot of confusion for the actual client when they get to the finish line, which is the worst place to kind of tackle that.
Yeah. Why do you think that ends up being an afterthought when it really shouldn't be?
I think it's just where our industry is at. A lot of us kind of come from a technical background or fell into the industry and have kind of taken off that way. And we haven't necessarily always thought about the visual design sense of a touch panel. We've thought more about, what's this room going to do? How's this display going to change inputs? How's the audio going to, duck any other sounds? Or how are we going to mitigate any echoing and reverb? And we think about all these kind of technical queries, and we don't think about, hey, when the user walks into this room, how are they going to achieve the result? How are they going to use this system easily and just get on with their day and do what they need to do? And especially when you're attaching money to that, when you're into a situation where it's corporate boardroom, and you have people who could be doing hundreds, thousands, millions in deals over that conference system that you installed. And if they're sitting there pressing buttons on the wall and they're late for that meeting, you can bet there's going to be some upset stakeholders.
Right. So like in a perfect world, who would be tasked with this portion of like specifying a conference room or what have you?
Yeah, I know in our situation, it's consultancy. So we've kind of rolled that into the deliverables, that's something we'll take on. Typically at an integration firm, it's something that'll just kind of get put to the programmer. So he'll get a schematic, he'll get this information so he understands how things are hooked up, and then he's going to program around that. Going forward, where I see a lot of value, and what we've seen just doing it through our in-house and some of our programming partners even that have onboarded UI and UX designers the past few years, is there's just been a lot of success with the system designs, because our equipment we can't do everything for everybody. It's an impossible task. So we really need to kind of take a look at what the team is that we're working for, what they need to achieve, and then simplify everything as much as possible to achieve what they need to achieve, and then tailor everything to that client. And yeah, if you have the right people in place in a visual design, whether it's graphic designer with a UI UX background, or somebody who's done web design even, since that's a very common point for all of us to interact with, they just come with baked in knowledge with colorimetry, sizing, simple things like a white background with black text. It gets very taxing on the eyes. But if you drop that black down a couple tones into a bit of a gray, you offset that white a little bit into a more cream tone, your perception of it will still be black and white, but it's a lot easier on your eyes. It's a lot easier to navigate. And there's a lot of simple cues you can do throughout the UI like that. But you need a professional, someone that has that background that can really understand that. And there's a lot of value in having that person supply that information with the engineered drawing sets, with all these other components to that programmer. So when that programmer sits down to take a look at the system, they have a nice holistic view of it all. They know what the design intent is. They know what the programming intent is. They know what the outcomes are. And then they can sit down and actually get it done. And programmers aren't a cheap resource, so it's good to kind of ensure that they can achieve what they need to achieve in the right time.
So if an integration firm is like, I sure wish that I could hire a designer to do this right now, but I can't maybe, are there some steps that their programmer could take to better understand UI, UX, colorimetry, and things like that?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, great question. For sure. There are great resources nowadays that you can Google. I touched on a few of them in the article, but obviously Apple has some great UI, UX standards, Google, Android. The easiest thing to do is take a look around at the things we're using every day. These are the things we're accustomed to using. They're laid out in a manner in which we're very familiar with. So whether you're on your mobile phone, whether you're on your tablet, whether you're on your laptop, just kind of start to be cognizant of where these things are, and then start to do some research into UI and UX development. A lot of programmers can definitely pick up, and probably have through some of their training, touched on a lot of these things. Typically, though, it's within the AV silo. And as we've seen, AV's kind of proliferated kind of all aspects of our lives these days. So I think it's good to kind of step out of that silo and look towards some of the other big players out there and read their standards and specifications. And from there, a company can develop their own. An integration firm can definitely have 2 or 3 kind of templates that they're gonna kick into for specific projects, and then tailor it to the need.
Perfect. Yeah. I know Gary has a question. I think we're going to bring him on really quick because he had a final question he wanted to ask you. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Nathan. I don't know if you saw that intro that we were just talking about there, but I think a lot of these roles, and I think everything you talked about today, you don't need a college degree to do this kind of stuff. I think Extron's the only company that actually uses a standard protocol for programming, Python, whereas everyone else invented their own programming language. So I guess for Extron, it probably helped to have a degree or at least know where to go get Python education. But outside of that, all this stuff is learned on the job, right? I mean, do you need a college degree in the kind of work that you do?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of one of the reasons I love our industry, honestly, is there was a certain amount of cowboy culture, as you know, at the very beginning, especially, where it was great for some of us that were maybe from a background where we didn't thrive in a test situation at a school. We could get into this. We could strap tools on. We could go mentor under somebody and just learn by doing. And because everything we're doing is so new, oftentimes it kind of takes a year and a half. One of the first articles I wrote with you guys was, where are the mentors? And it was to encourage this same kind of thing where we need to bring these younger people in and kind of get them going and let them know it's a great opportunity. Like if you're struggling in some of the avenues you feel like you have to do, come into AV. We're a bunch of misfits and we're having a great time. And most of it's going to be learning by doing. And like you said, each team kind of has their bespoke approach. Regionally, things can be different. geographically. There's just so many reasons why we need to, for sure, open the door and just kick it open for people to just come in, give it a shot. Because 9 out of the 10 things you do in this industry either don't have a certification yet, or if they do, it's a good starting point. But most of it's definitely going to be hands-on and just by doing.
Yeah.
And Nathan just announced that he'll be your mentor. So there you go. He's readily available. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. Really appreciate it. And obviously, we can't do broadcasts like this. We can't do shows like this without our sponsors. And rAVe has a message for you about some new stuff. And they're going to be at InfoComm. They're one of those companies going to have a great InfoComm show. So check this out from our sponsor, rAVe.
All right, continuing on with just the rest of our news and stuff that we have to talk to you guys about today. So just a reminder, our May 2023 temperature check survey is still open. We'd love for you guys to go and answer it. InfoComm is coming up rapidly, and that is why we chose that as the subject of this month's survey. It takes about 2 minutes to answer, and if you answer, you are automatically in the running to win one of two $50 Amazon gift cards. It's a very good deal for quickly just checking 3 boxes. So please keep answering.
I'd say it takes 15 seconds to answer this one. This one's real easy to do. And we, we publish the results of these. So it'll tell you what everyone is thinking about InfoComm, whether or not they're going, but also what they're going to see. And thanks to our sponsor, Peerless AV, for sponsoring these temperature checks in 2023. We're excited to have them as a sponsor of those. And they're a good company because they're in the middle, Steph. Everyone uses Peerless.
Exactly. So they're a perfect company to have a good stake in caring about what the industry thinks about these different subjects. So please do us a favor, go and answer it. We want to know if you're coming to InfoComm. We want to know what you're looking forward to seeing if you are coming to InfoComm. So please go fill that out. And we appreciate it. So continuing on with the news, a familiar face is returning to Screen Innovations. Isn't that right, Gary?
Yeah, Blake Vicar is back. He wasn't gone for very long, but he's back at and he's now, his title now is brand ambassador.
Brand ambassador,
because he's sort of like the face of the company. So I think I think a lot of people thought they wanted to do different things during the pandemic, and this quiet quitting and changing roles and things, and then they realize hey, it's not so bad working for a company like Screen Innovation. So that's great that they have them back. They have him back. I'm sure they're going to be happy, and they'll be coming to InfoComm as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the companies that is also going to be at InfoComm is Legrand, and they make a little bit of everything. And this case study that they did at Texas A&M with the Vadio 300
RoboShot,
RoboShot. It's a great case study. I mean, they're doing some really good job on case studies, because if I were an end user, I would rush over to Legrand's site, because they can spark a whole bunch of ideas. And I'm sure there's more than just Vadio in that system, because they had to mount these things. So I'm sure there's Chief in there, and there's
Chief Fusion Carts. Yes, was another. Luxel managed switches, Middle Atlantic UPS backup power, and then Vadio RoboShot 30E cameras and one link bridge systems as well. So this is a fully outfitted Legrand classroom, and it's also really great because for any of you who work in the education sector, this is all using CARES Act funding, which I know we've talked about a few different times. We mentioned it in a launch week a few years ago, one of our first ones, I believe. And we've talked about CARES Act and how you can utilize that funding to help outfit classroom technology. So definitely check out that case study and see all of what it could do for Texas A&M. It's very cool. So
Planar introduced their UltraRes W series, which I wrote about, which is a 105-inch LCD. They'll have that at InfoComm. That's specifically designed for Microsoft Teams Front Row. It could be used for anything if you need a large digital canvas, but I think a lot of people think of Planar as an LED company, but they also have LCD as well. And this is an all-in-one 105-inch 21:9 aspect ratio, meaning you can move it inside of doors and move it around pretty easily. They've had that product for a little while, but they've upgraded it now. And they'll be at InfoComm with the product. The story is at ravepubs.com. You can go learn about how to get that product. It's now shipping. And I know, Steph, we got some launch. We had a launch and learn yesterday. We got some other launch and learns coming up, including a day of AI coming up next week.
That's going to be exciting. Yeah, that's with IDEA. If you are familiar with them. That is the Illinois Digital Educators Alliance. So I think AI is just something that's kind of creeping into all of our lives at various points, whether it's your work life, your home life, your personal life. AI's here and it's coming in. So I think it's really good and important that we have good conversations about how to utilize this and how to police it. A lot of schools are kind of unsure about what they're going to allow. So I think that this conversation is definitely going to be worthy and it's going to be awesome. So it's going to be May 18th and that's at 4:30 p.m. EDT. And that was on purpose because the people that we want to come, those educators and those who work at schools, we wanted to make sure they had time to get off work before joining and checking out this conversation. So I am really excited about it, actually.
Yeah, and I'm excited about InfoComm, everything about InfoComm. And I want to remind you, you can go ahead and register for our most popular launch events are our replay events, which are curated coverage of the show. Now, think about a show like InfoComm. We're going to shoot somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 videos at that show, I believe. And therefore, that's a lot of coverage. Like we don't go and just shoot videos where people pay us. We go and shoot videos everywhere. So we're going to have a lot of videos, and we're going to take and curate, say, 100 of those and play them. Maybe not 100. Probably we couldn't do it in that period of time. We only have 3 hours to do it. So maybe 50.
Well, we have 3 hours over 3 days, so we will have time to play plenty.
Maybe we'll have time. So we're going to do a 3-day replay InfoComm 2023, June 27, 28, 29. So if you are at InfoComm and feel like you didn't get a chance to walk around the whole show floor, or you aren't going to InfoComm and don't have time to go to ravepubs.com/InfoComm and just refresh our site every time we post new videos, which we will do live from the show, then all you got to do, and by the way, we'll be doing live Rave TVs. We'll give you a whole schedule of everything we're going to do. But ultimately,
be there doing a lot.
If you want curated coverage following the show, this is the way to do it. Just register for replay InfoComm 2023. How do they do that, Steph? How do they register?
They can scan a QR code that is right below Gary, right on the left of the screen, and that will come up with all of the links of anything that we've talked about today. And one of those will be the registration link for and both of those launch events that we're talking about. So if you'd like to come, you by no means have to come for all 3 days, but we highly encourage it. So go ahead, scan that QR code, register, and we will see you at replay. And finally, if you are considering going to InfoComm, I know Nathan said that he was considering it, but like was on the fence, go ahead and register. You can register for completely free of charge using our code rAVe, that's rAVe. And just for registering using our code, you can swing by our booth at the show and say, hey, I registered with your code. And we'll say, great, here's your free t-shirt. And I'm really excited about the t-shirt design this year. They're very cool. As usual, our t-shirts are always cool. We have some of the best t-shirts in the industry.
We'll debut it. We will debut it live on rAVe TV. That's where you'll get to see it first.
Oh, yeah.
Before you go to the show. And it will also give away, I guess, a hint at what our game is going to be.
What our game is going to be.
We are going to bring the game back. This will be the game 12 or 13. I can't remember which one this is. I think this is the 12th year we've done the game.
But we're switching it up this year.
New game, and the t-shirt reflects that.
Yeah, so that's going to be really exciting. InfoComm's going to be crazy this year, so definitely go. And also, you can go ahead and check out our microsite. We are getting some pre-show coverage in. Any of those press releases we're getting about who's showing what at InfoComm, we are putting those on the site. And you can do that by going to ravepubs.com/InfoComm. No year. We are using one microsite. We just update it with each year's new coverage. So definitely go and check that out. This is our pre-show version. The site will look a lot different when we are in the show. But yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. I think the microsite looks really great.
Yeah, we'll walk you through that as well before we get to the show. I want to thank everyone for joining us today for rAVe TV. You can look at all of our archived 104, 5, 6, whatever episodes we have up now. Yeah. Something like 105, 106 episodes online at 109, 108. Was that 9? Was that 9 fingers? 109 episodes. You can go look at all of those at youtube.com/ravepubs under the rAVe TV album. Or, of course, you can always come here every Wednesday at noon and watch them live at ravepubs.com. Thanks for joining us, Steph. Hopefully one of these days we'll be in the office at the same time.
I'll see you one day. If not, I'll see you at InfoComm. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time.
It's the weekly show about ProAV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary.